Noah Carter never imagined that helping a stranger rewrite a dating profile would unravel his entire life. She walked into his office late one night, polished, confident, impossibly out of place, and asked for something he couldn't refuse. But Lena Vale wasn't looking for love. She was hiding from it. And Noah, a single father who'd built walls high enough to keep everyone out, was about to discover that some connections don't ask permission. They just break through. If you want to see how far a single conversation can change two guarded hearts, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Noah Carter didn't believe in fate, coincidence, or any of those convenient explanations people used when they didn't want to admit they'd made a choice. At 32, he'd learned that life was just a series of decisions. Some good, most mediocre, a few catastrophic. And the trick was making enough decent ones to keep your head above water. Tonight, he was making the decision to stay late. Again. The office was nearly empty, just the hum of the HVAC system and the occasional ping from his email. His daughter Emma was at his mother's for the night, which meant he could actually finish the Henderson account without interruption. Small blessings. He rubbed his eyes and leaned back in his chair, staring at the spreadsheet until the numbers blurred into meaningless shapes. "Excuse me?" Noah jerked forward, nearly knocking over his coffee. A woman stood in the doorway of his cubicle, mid to late 20s, dark hair pulled back, wearing a coat that probably cost more than his monthly rent. She had the kind of face that belonged on a magazine cover, all sharp angles and perfect symmetry, but her eyes were what caught him. They were careful, guarded. "Can I help you?" Noah glanced past her, expecting to see a janitor or security guard. Someone who could explain why a stranger was wandering the financial analysis wing at 9:30 on a Thursday night. "I hope so." She didn't smile. "Are you Noah Carter?" He hesitated. "Yeah, who's asking?" "Lena Vale." She extended a hand. Her grip was firm, businesslike. "I need your help with something." Noah waited for her to continue. When she didn't, he said, "Okay, with what?" Lena glanced over her shoulder, then back at him. "Can we talk somewhere private?" "This is pretty private." He gestured at the empty office. "Everyone's gone home." "Right." She shifted her weight, and for the first time, Noah noticed the slight tension in her shoulders. Whatever brought her here, she wasn't comfortable about it. "I need help rewriting my dating profile." Noah blinked. "Your what?" "Dating profile. You know, the thing people use to, I know what a dating profile is." He leaned back in his chair, studying her. "What I don't know is why you're asking me, or how you even know my name." Lena's jaw tightened. "I was referred." "By who? Does it matter?" "Kind of, yeah." She exhaled slowly, like she was deciding how much to tell him. "Your sister-in-law, Rachel. We were in a yoga class together. She mentioned you were good with words." Noah felt a headache forming. Rachel. Of course. His brother's wife had been trying to set him up with every single woman she knew for the past 2 years. He should have seen this coming. "Look," he said, "I appreciate the compliment, but I'm a financial analyst, not a copywriter, and I definitely don't do dating advice." "I'm not asking for advice." Lena's voice sharpened. "I'm asking for help with clarity and structure. Rachel said you used to write in college." "That was over a decade ago, so you can still write." "I can also change a tire, but I'm not a mechanic." Lena didn't move. She just stood there, watching him with those careful eyes, and Noah realized she wasn't going to leave until he gave her a real answer. He sighed. "Why do you need help? You seem articulate enough." "Articulate isn't the problem." She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, then handed it to him. "Read it." Noah took the phone. The profile photo was professional. Lena in a tailored blazer, perfect lighting, the kind of image that screamed, "I have my life together." The bio was just as polished, passionate about art, literature, and meaningful conversations. "I value authenticity and intelligence. Looking for someone who can appreciate the finer things in life while staying grounded. No games, no drama." He scrolled through the rest. Every line was smooth, confident, perfectly constructed, and completely cold. "It's fine," Noah said, handing the phone back. "It's terrible." "It's not terrible. It's just generic, lifeless. like it was written by a corporate PR team. Lena slipped the phone back into her pocket. Which, honestly, it kind of was. I had a friend help me, and she basically turned me into a LinkedIn profile. Noah almost smiled. Yeah, I can see that. So, will you help me fix it? I don't know anything about dating apps. You don't need to. You just need to help me sound like a real person. There it was, the slight crack in her composure. Just a flicker, but enough for Noah to realize that beneath all the polish and confidence, Lena Vale was struggling with something. And despite every instinct telling him to say no, to keep his distance, to maintain the careful boundaries he'd built around his life, he heard himself say, "Okay." Lena's shoulders relaxed. Really? Yeah, but not here. Noah shut down his computer and grabbed his jacket. There's a coffee shop a few blocks away. We can talk there. The coffee shop was one of those aggressively quirky places with mismatched furniture and chalkboard menus. At this hour, it was mostly empty, except for a couple of college students hunched over laptops and a guy reading a paperback in the corner. Noah ordered a black coffee. Lena got something complicated with oat milk and an extra shot. They sat by the window. Outside, the city moved in its usual chaotic rhythm. Taxis honking, people hurrying past, the distant wail of a siren. So, Noah said, pulling out a notebook from his bag, let's start with the basics. What do you actually want to say? Lena stared at her coffee. I don't know. You don't know what you want to say, or you don't know what you're looking for? Both, neither. She shook her head. I just know that what I have now isn't working. Noah tapped his pen against the notebook. How long have you been on the app? 3 months? Any matches? Plenty. Any good ones? Lena's laugh was sharp, humorless. Define good. Noah took a sip of his coffee. It was terrible, burnt and bitter, but he didn't care. Okay, let's try this differently. Forget the profile for a second. Who are you? That's a big question. Start small then. What do you do? I work in acquisitions. For? A private firm. Noah raised an eyebrow. You're being intentionally vague. I'm being cautious. Why? Lena met his gaze. Because I don't know you. Fair enough. Noah leaned back in his chair. All right, let's talk about what you like. Your profile says art and literature. Is that true? Or is that just what you think sounds good? It's true. Lena's voice softened slightly. I grew up around art. My mother was a curator. I used to spend weekends in galleries, just looking. At what? Everything. Anything. I like the abstract stuff best, the paintings that didn't try to be anything specific, just color and shape and feeling. Noah wrote that down. Okay, that's better, more specific. What about literature? I read a lot, mostly fiction, contemporary stuff, some classics. Favorite book? Lena hesitated. I don't really have one. Favorite author? That's hard. It's supposed to be. She smiled for the first time, just a small curve of her lips, but it changed her entire face, made her look younger, less guarded. I like Joan Didion, the way she writes about grief and place. It's honest without being sentimental. Noah added that to his notes. See? That's real. That's something someone could actually connect with. You think so? I know so. He looked up at her. The problem with your current profile is that it's trying too hard to sound impressive. It's all surface. No depth. Lena frowned. I thought people wanted impressive. Maybe, but impressive gets boring fast. What people actually want is interesting. And interesting comes from specificity, from the weird little details that make you different from everyone else. Like what? Noah thought for a moment. Do you have any strange habits? Things you do that most people would think are odd? I don't know. I talk to myself sometimes when I'm thinking through a problem. That's normal. Everyone does that. I do it out loud, in public. Noah grinned. Okay, that's better. What else? Lena considered. I have a collection of vintage maps. I don't use them or anything. I just like looking at them. The way cities used to be laid out before everything got redesigned. That's good. What about food? Do you cook? Not really. I'm terrible at it. Favorite meal? Take out Thai food. The little place down the street from my apartment makes this green curry that's probably destroying my digestive system, but I can't stop ordering it. Noah was writing faster now, capturing the pieces of Lena that didn't fit the polished image she'd constructed. Okay. Last question. What are you actually looking for? Not the PR version, the real version. Lena went quiet. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, staring down at the foam pattern on top. I don't know if I'm looking for anything, she said finally. I think I'm just tired of being alone. The honesty of it hit Noah harder than he expected. He set down his pen. That's the first true thing you've said all night. Lena looked up. What do you mean? Everything else, the art, the books, the maps, that's all real. But it's still curated. You're still controlling the narrative. Noah leaned forward. But that line, that's vulnerable. And vulnerability is what makes people want to know more. Vulnerability is also what gets you hurt. Yeah, it does. Noah held her gaze. But it's also the only way to find something real. Lena didn't respond. She just sat there, turning her coffee cup in slow circles, and Noah wondered what she was thinking. What brought a woman like this, poised, intelligent, clearly successful, to a stranger's office at night, asking for help with something as mundane as a dating profile? Can I ask you something? Lena said. Sure. Why did you say yes when I asked for help? Noah considered lying, saying something about being helpful or curious or just bored, but Lena had been honest with him, so he figured he owed her the same. Because you looked like you needed it, he said. And I know what that feels like. Lena studied him for a long moment. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know, someone more, cynical? She smiled again. Yeah, actually. Give it time. I'll get there. They worked for another hour, going through Lena's profile line by line. Noah asked questions, pushed back on the polished phrases, dragged out the specific details that made her sound like a person instead of a resume. By the time they finished, the coffee shop was closing. So, Lena said as they stood to leave, what do I owe you? Nothing. Come on. You spent your whole evening helping me. I spent my whole evening having an interesting conversation. That's payment enough. Lena hesitated, then pulled out a business card. Well, if you ever need anything, professional consultation, industry advice, whatever, call me. Noah took the card. It was simple, elegant, just her name and a phone number. No company name, no title. I will, he said, knowing he probably wouldn't. They walked out together. The night air was cool, tinged with the smell of exhaust and distant rain. Lena's car was parked down the block, a sleek black sedan that looked like it cost more than Noah's annual salary. Thanks again, she said, unlocking the door. For the help. And for not making this weird. No problem. She got in, started the engine, then rolled down the window. Noah? Yeah? You're good at this, the writing thing. You should do it more. Before he could respond, she pulled away, taillights disappearing into traffic. Noah stood there for a moment, card still in his hand, wondering what the hell had just happened. The next morning, Noah woke up to Emma jumping on his bed. Daddy, you're late! She was already dressed in her school uniform, pigtails slightly crooked. Noah groaned and checked his phone. 7:15. Not late, but close. All right, Bug. Give me 5 minutes. Emma bounded off toward the kitchen, and Noah dragged himself out of bed. His apartment was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that barely fit a table, but it was clean and safe and his. That was enough. He made Emma breakfast while she chattered about her sleepover at Grandma's house. Apparently they'd made cookies and watched a movie about talking animals. Emma provided a detailed plot summary that included at least 3 songs. Did you have fun at work? Emma asked, mouthful of cereal. It was fine. Did you help anyone? Noah thought about Lena. Yeah, actually, I did. Good. Emma nodded seriously. Grandma says helping people is important. Grandma's right. He dropped Emma off at school, kissed her forehead, reminded her to be good. She rolled her eyes, 8 going on 18, and ran off to join her friends. Noah sat in his car for a moment, watching her disappear into the building. This was his life, this routine, this rhythm. Work, school, bedtime, repeat. It was simple, uncomplicated, safe. He didn't need anything else. At work, Noah tried to focus on the Henderson account, but his mind kept drifting back to the conversation with Lena. The way she'd opened up slowly, carefully, like she was testing the waters, the brief flashes of vulnerability beneath all that polish. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Lena. Hope this isn't weird. Just wanted to say thanks again for last night." Noah stared at the message. He should probably just send a polite response and leave it at that. Keep the boundaries clear. Instead, he typed, "Not weird. How'd the profile turn out?" Better. Still terrifying, but better. That's the point. Is it? Yeah. If it doesn't scare you a little, you're not being honest enough. There was a pause. Then, "Do you always give advice you don't follow?" Noah almost laughed. She wasn't wrong. Touché. Seriously, though, when's the last time you put yourself out there? Define out there. You know what I mean. Noah leaned back in his chair. When was the last time he'd been vulnerable with someone? Really vulnerable, not just the surface-level stuff he gave his family, or the polite deflections he offered coworkers. He couldn't remember. "It's been a while," he typed. "Why?" "Long story. I've got time." Noah looked at the clock. He had a meeting in 20 minutes and a backlog of emails that wasn't getting any shorter. But something about Lena's directness, her refusal to let him hide behind vague answers, made him want to respond honestly. "I have a daughter," he wrote. "Her mom left when she was 2. Haven't really been interested in dating since." The response came quickly. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We're better off." "Still, that's hard." "Yeah." It was. Noah hesitated, then added, "But we're good now. Emma's great. Happy, healthy. That's what matters. She's lucky to have you." Noah didn't know how to respond to that, so he just sent a thumbs-up emoji and put his phone away. Barasang. Over the next week, Lena texted sporadically. Never anything too personal, just random observations, links to articles she thought he'd find interesting, updates on her dating app experience. Noah found himself looking forward to the messages, even though he knew he shouldn't. On Wednesday, she sent a screenshot of a conversation she'd had with a match. The guy had opened with a line about her eyes, and then immediately asked what she did for work. "Riveting," Noah replied. "I know. I'm swooning. Did you respond?" "I said I work in waste management." He hasn't replied. Noah laughed out loud, earning a confused look from the guy in the next cubicle. "You're brutal. I'm efficient. If he can't handle a joke, he's not worth my time." "Fair. What about you? Ever try the apps?" "God, no. Why not?" "Because I value my sanity." "Come on, it can't be that bad." Lena, you literally hired a stranger to rewrite your profile because you hated it so much. Point taken. Noah smiled at his phone, then realized he'd been staring at it for 5 minutes. He forced himself to get back to work. "Eej." On Friday, Lena called. "I need your opinion on something," she said without preamble. "Hello to you too." "Sorry." "Hi. How are you?" "I'm fine. What do you need?" "I have a date tomorrow night. The guy seems decent, but I'm second-guessing myself." Noah felt something twist in his chest. He ignored it. "What are you second-guessing?" "Everything. Whether I'm ready, whether this is a good idea, whether I'm going to spend the whole night wishing I was home watching Netflix. Then stay home and watch Netflix. That's not helpful." "Sure it is. If you're already dreading it, why go?" Lena sighed. "Because I'm trying to actually do something instead of just thinking about doing something." "Okay, then go. What's the worst that happens?" "I have a terrible time and waste 3 hours of my life." "You've wasted 3 hours before. You'll survive. You're really bad at pep talks." "I never claimed to be good at them." Lena laughed. It was a real laugh, unguarded, and Noah realized he liked the sound of it. "All right," she said. "I'll go. But if it's awful, I'm blaming you." "Deal." Be back. Saturday morning, Noah took Emma to the park. It was one of those perfect fall days, crisp air, blue sky, leaves turning gold and red. Emma ran straight for the swings, and Noah settled onto a bench, watching her. His phone buzzed. Lena. Update. The date was fine. Fine? Yeah. He was nice. Interesting job. Good conversationalist. We talked about books and travel and all the usual first date stuff, but I wasn't interested, like, at all. I kept waiting to feel something, and it just never happened. Noah hesitated before replying. Maybe you're not ready, or maybe he just wasn't the right person. That too. Can I ask you something? Sure. How did you know? With Emma's mom? That she was the one. Noah stared at the question. It was so simple, so direct, and he didn't have a good answer. He'd been 23 when he met Sarah, young, stupid, convinced that intensity equaled love. They'd burned bright and fast and then crashed hard. I didn't, he typed. I thought I did, but I was wrong. So how do you know the next time? I don't think you do. I think you just take the risk and hope for the best. That's terrifying. Yeah, it is. There was a long pause, then, do you ever think about trying again? Noah watched Emma on the swings, pumping her legs, laughing as she flew higher. He thought about the years since Sarah left, the loneliness, the exhaustion, the slow process of rebuilding his life into something stable, something safe. Sometimes, he admitted, but then I think about what I'd be risking, and it doesn't seem worth it. Your daughter? Yeah. What if she wants you to be happy? She's 8. She doesn't know what she wants. I bet she's smarter than you think. Noah smiled despite himself. Yeah, she probably is. The text continued, almost daily now, sometimes multiple times a day. Lena told him about her terrible dates, her frustrations with work, the book she was reading that was supposedly brilliant but mostly just confusing. Noah found himself sharing more than he intended. Stories about Emma, complaints about his boss, the weird satisfaction he got from organizing his spreadsheets just right. It was easy, talking to Lena. Easier than it should have been. On Tuesday, she sent him a photo of a painting. Abstract. Lots of blues and greens swirling together. Saw this today. Made me think of you. Why? I don't know. It's calm but complicated. Structured chaos. Is that how you see me? Is it accurate? Noah looked at the painting again. Yeah, actually, it kind of is. I'm good at reading people. Clearly. What do you see when you read me? It was a dangerous question, one that required honesty Noah wasn't sure he was ready to give. But Lena had been nothing but direct with him, so he tried to match it. I see someone who's running from something, he wrote, but I don't know what. The response took longer this time. When it came, it was just 2 words. You're right. Noah waited for more. When nothing came, he typed, You don't have to tell me, I know. But if you want to, I'm here. Another pause. Then, Can we meet? In person? Noah's heart kicked up. Why? Because some things are easier to say face to face. He should say no. Should keep this contained, keep the distance. But he didn't. When? They met at the same coffee shop. Lena was already there when Noah arrived, sitting at the same table by the window. She looked different, less polished, more worn. Her hair was down, and she wasn't wearing makeup. She looked younger, more real. Hi, Noah said, sliding into the seat across from her. Hi. Lena wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Thanks for coming. Of course. She didn't speak right away, just sat there, staring out the window at the people passing by. Noah waited. Finally, Lena said, I lied to you about what I do. Okay. I don't work in acquisitions. I mean, technically I do, but that's not the whole story. She took a breath. My family owns Vale Industries. It's a real estate development company. My father built it, and when he died 3 years ago, my brother took over. There was some scandal, accusations of bribery, misappropriation of funds. It was all over the news. Noah vaguely remembered seeing something about it. Were the accusations true? Some of them. My brother made some bad choices, trusted the wrong people. The company survived, but barely, and She trailed off. You what? I left. I couldn't watch him destroy what my father built, so I stepped away, kept my shares, but distanced myself from the operations. I've been trying to figure out who I am outside of that name. Noah processed this. That's why you were vague about your job. Yeah, and why I'm on dating apps instead of meeting people the normal way. Everyone in my social circle knows who I am, what I am. I wanted to meet someone who didn't. Someone who saw you, not your last name. Exactly. Lena finally looked at him. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You don't owe me your life story. Maybe not, but I wanted you to know because she hesitated. Because you've been honest with me, and I haven't been fully honest with you. Noah leaned back in his chair. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why me? You could have hired a professional writer, a PR consultant, anyone. Why ask some random analyst for help? Lena smiled faintly. Because Rachel said you were a good person, and I needed to talk to a good person, someone who wouldn't judge me or see me as a project to fix. She paused. Was she right? About me being good? Yeah. Noah thought about it. I don't know. I try to be. For Emma, mostly. But I've made plenty of mistakes. Haven't we all? They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Outside, the city hummed along, indifferent to their conversation. So, Noah said, what now? What do you mean? With the dating thing, are you going to keep trying? Lena shrugged. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe I'll just focus on other things for a while. Like what? Like figuring out what I actually want, instead of what I think I'm supposed to want. Noah nodded. He understood that. That's probably smart. Probably. Lena's eyes met his. Can I tell you something else? Sure. The dates haven't worked because I keep comparing everyone to you. Noah went still. Lena, I'm not asking for anything, she said quickly. I just wanted to be honest. You asked me to be real in my profile, to be vulnerable, so I'm practicing. That's not fair. I know. I have a daughter, a life. I can't just... I know, Lena said again. I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you the truth. Noah didn't know what to say. Part of him wanted to get up and leave, to protect the careful boundaries he'd constructed. But another part, a larger part, wanted to stay, to see where this honesty led. I think about you too, he said finally. More than I should. Lena's expression shifted. Yeah? Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea. Why not? Because I don't know if I can do this. If I can let someone in again, and if I try and it doesn't work... He shook his head. Emma's already lost one parent. I can't put her through that again. I understand. Lena reached across the table, her hand stopping just short of his. But maybe you're underestimating yourself. And her. Noah looked at her hand so close to his own. It would be easy to close the distance, to take the risk. But easy wasn't always right. I need time, he said, to think about this. Okay. Lena pulled her hand back. I can wait. They left the coffee shop together, but this time the silence between them was different, charged, full of possibility and fear in equal measure. As Noah drove home, he thought about what Lena had said. About comparison, about honesty, about being brave enough to want something real. He thought about Emma, asleep at his mother's house, blissfully unaware of the complexity of adult feelings. He thought about the walls he'd built, and whether they were protecting him or just keeping him prisoner. And for the first time in years, Noah Carter allowed himself to wonder what might happen if he stopped being so careful, if he stopped surviving and started actually living. The thought terrified him, but it also felt like possibility. Noah spent the weekend avoiding his phone. It sat on the kitchen counter while he made pancakes with Emma, face down and silent. He left it in his jacket pocket during their trip to the grocery store, ignoring the occasional buzz of incoming messages. By Sunday night, he'd managed to convince himself that distance was the smart choice, the safe choice, the only choice that made sense. Then Emma asked him why he seemed sad. They were sitting on the couch, halfway through an animated movie about a lost robot. Emma had her head on his shoulder, her small hand wrapped around his arm. I'm not sad, Bug, Noah said, but his voice came out flat. Emma tilted her head up to look at him. You have your thinking face on. My what? Your thinking face, the one you make when you're worried about something. She scrunched up her forehead in an exaggerated imitation, and despite everything, Noah laughed. I didn't know I had a thinking face. You do. Grandma says you've had it since you were little. Emma settled back against him. Are you worried about work? No, not work. Then what? Noah considered how much to tell her. Emma was perceptive in that way kids often are, seeing through the carefully constructed answers adults gave when they didn't want to explain the truth. I met someone, he said carefully. A friend, and I'm trying to figure out if I should spend more time with them or not. Emma's eyes lit up. Is it a girl? It's a woman, yeah. Do you like her? Noah exhaled slowly. I think so, but it's complicated. Why? Because he struggled to find words that would make sense to an 8-year-old. Because sometimes when you let people get close, they can hurt you. And I don't want to get hurt again. Emma was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she said, But what if she doesn't hurt you? What if she makes you happy? That's the scary part. I don't know which one it'll be. So you're just not going to find out. The simplicity of the question hit Noah harder than it should have. When had he become the kind of person who chose ignorance over risk? When had safe become more important than real? I don't know, Bug, he admitted. Emma nestled closer. I think you should find out, because you're always taking care of me, and Grandma says you deserve to be happy too. Noah kissed the top of her head, his chest tight. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't notice because I'm little. He pulled out his phone after Emma went to bed. 7 messages from Lena, spread across the weekend. None of them pushy or demanding, just small observations and thoughts she wanted to share. A photo of a vintage map she'd found at a flea market. A question about a book recommendation. A joke about her latest disastrous date. The last message had come 2 hours ago. I know you said you needed time. I'm trying to give it to you, but I miss talking to you. Noah stared at the words. He'd been so focused on protecting himself, on maintaining his carefully ordered life, that he hadn't stopped to consider what he might actually want. Not what was safe, or logical, or responsible, but what he genuinely desired. He typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, I miss talking to you too. The reply came almost immediately. Then talk to me. I don't know what to say. Start with how your weekend was. So he did. He told her about the pancakes and the grocery store and Emma's question about his thinking face. Lena responded with stories of her own weekend, a gallery opening she'd attended alone, the Thai food she'd ordered, even though it was probably destroying her stomach, the realization that she'd been hiding for so long she'd almost forgotten what it felt like to be seen. They texted until past midnight. Eventually, Lena wrote, Can I call you? Noah hesitated, then typed, Yeah. Her voice was softer on the phone, less guarded than in person. Hi. Hi. I wasn't sure you'd answer. I wasn't sure I would either, Lena laughed quietly. We're both really bad at this. At what? At letting ourselves want something. Noah leaned back against his headboard. Yeah, we are. Can I tell you what I've been thinking about? Sure. I've been thinking about how you said you needed time, and how that's fair and reasonable, and I should respect it. But I've also been thinking about how much time I've already wasted being careful, being strategic, trying to protect myself from getting hurt. She paused. And I'm tired of it. Lena, I'm not asking you to make a decision right now. I'm just telling you that I don't want to waste any more time pretending I don't feel what I feel. Noah closed his eyes. What do you feel? Interested, curious, scared, she exhaled. Hopeful, which is the most terrifying one. Why? Because hope requires believing that something good could actually happen, and I haven't let myself believe that in a long time. Noah understood. He'd spent years operating on autopilot, going through the motions of life without expecting much beyond basic stability. The idea of hoping for more, of wanting more, felt dangerous. I'm scared too, he admitted. Of what? Of messing this up, of hurting Emma, of letting you in, and then realizing I'm not ready. He opened his eyes, staring at the ceiling. Of being ready and having it fall apart anyway. Those are all valid fears. But they're also just fears. They're not facts. They're not guaranteed outcomes. Lena's voice was gentle. And I think if we let fear make all our decisions, we're going to look back in 5 years and regret it. Noah knew she was right, but knowing and doing were different things. I need to take this slow, he said, really slow. Emma comes first, And if at any point this feels like it's affecting her negatively, I have to step back. I understand. And I need you to be patient with me, because I'm probably going to second guess everything and panic and try to run. Okay. That's it? Just okay. Noah, I've spent the last 3 years rebuilding my entire identity from scratch. I know what it's like to need time and space to figure things out. So, yeah. Okay. I can be patient. He felt something loosen in his chest. All right then. All right. Yeah, let's try this, slowly. Lena's smile was audible. Slowly. Got it. They talked for another hour, about nothing and everything. By the time they hung up, it was past 1 in the morning, and Noah felt more awake than he had in years. The next morning, Emma noticed immediately. You don't have your thinking face today, she announced over breakfast. Noah poured her more orange juice. No? Nope. You have your happy face. I didn't know I had a happy face either. Emma grinned. You do. It's better than the thinking face. At work, Noah found himself distracted. Not in a bad way, just unable to fully focus on the spreadsheets and reports that usually consumed his attention. His mind kept drifting to Lena, to the possibilities he'd spent so long refusing to consider. His coworker, Marcus, noticed during lunch. All right, what's going on with you? Marcus asked, biting into his sandwich. What do you mean? You've checked your phone 6 times in the last 10 minutes. You never check your phone. Noah set the phone face down on the table. It's nothing. Is it a woman? Why does everyone assume it's a woman? Because you have that look. What look? The I'm trying not to smile but I can't help it look. Marcus pointed at him with his sandwich. You met someone. Noah sighed. Maybe. Finally, Rachel's been trying to set you up for years. This isn't Rachel's doing. Well, not directly. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Explain. So Noah gave him the abbreviated version, the late-night request, the coffee shop conversations, the slow realization that he was interested in someone for the first time since Sarah left. And you're freaking out about it, Marcus said when he finished. I'm not freaking out. You're totally freaking out. I'm being cautious. You're being terrified. There's a difference. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Look, I get it. You've got Emma to think about. But you can't put your entire life on hold because you're afraid of making a mistake. I'm not putting my life on hold. Really? When's the last time you went on a date? Noah didn't answer. Exactly. You've been in survival mode so long you forgot there's supposed to be more to life than just getting through the day. Marcus softened his tone. I'm not saying jump into something reckless. I'm just saying don't let fear make the decision for you. Noah thought about that for the rest of the afternoon. About survival mode and fear and the difference between protecting yourself and imprisoning yourself. That evening, Lena texted, What are you doing this weekend? Not sure yet. Why? There's an art exhibit opening Saturday. Abstract stuff. Thought you might want to come. Noah hesitated. Going to an exhibit together felt like a date. A real one, not just coffee and conversation. It felt like a step forward. What time? He typed. 7. But we could grab dinner first if you want. I'd have to see if my mom can watch Emma. No pressure. Just thought it might be fun. Noah called his mother. She agreed immediately, with barely concealed excitement that made him regret telling her anything at all. Dinner sounds good, he texted Lena. Where? They met at a small Italian place, Lena suggested. It was the kind of restaurant that didn't need to advertise, where the tables were packed close together and the menu was written on a chalkboard. Lena was already seated when Noah arrived, wearing a dark green dress that made her look both elegant and approachable. Hi, she said, standing to greet him. Hi. Noah felt suddenly underdressed in his jeans and button-down shirt. You look nice. So do you. They sat down, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched just long enough to become awkward. I'm nervous, Lena admitted. Yeah, me too. Why? We've talked 100 times. This feels different. Because it's official? Like an actual date? Noah nodded. Something like that. Lena smiled. We could just pretend it's not a date. Just 2 friends having dinner. Except we both know it's not. True. She picked up her menu. All right then, let's be nervous together. The waiter came by and they ordered wine for Lena, water for Noah, pasta for both. Can I ask you something? Noah said once the waiter left. Sure. Why did you really ask me for help that night? With the profile? Lena considered the question. Honestly, I was lonely. And I'd been going through the motions for so long, the apps, the dates, the performative version of looking for connection, that I'd forgotten what genuine conversation felt like. Rachel mentioned you in passing, said you were smart and kind and good with words. And I thought, why not? Worst case, you'd say no. Best case, I'd get some help fixing my train wreck of a profile. And instead you got stuck with me. I didn't get stuck. I got lucky. She met his eyes. You listened to me. Really listened. Not because you wanted something, but because you actually cared. That's rare. Noah felt his face warm. I'm not special. You keep saying that, but you're wrong. The food arrived and they ate slowly, the conversation flowing easier now. They talked about work, Lena's frustrations with the family business she distanced herself from, Noah's boredom with financial analysis. They talked about books and music and the strange satisfaction of organizing things just right. Emma asked about you, Noah said eventually. Lena's fork paused halfway to her mouth. She did? Yeah, she wanted to know if I liked you. What did you tell her? The truth. That I do, but it's complicated. What did she say? Noah smiled. She said I should find out if you'll make me happy or hurt me, because apparently I deserve to be happy. Lena set down her fork. She sounds incredibly wise. She is, scarily so. And what do you think about finding out? Noah took a breath. I think I'm willing to try, if you are. I'm here, aren't I? Yeah, you are. After dinner, they walked to the gallery. The night was cool, the streets busy with the usual Friday chaos. Lena walked close enough that their arms occasionally brushed, sending small jolts of awareness through Noah's nervous system. The exhibit was in a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. The paintings were large, abstract compositions that looked like emotions given physical form, sharp angles and bleeding colors, chaos contained on canvas. What do you think? Lena asked as they stood in front of a particularly intense piece, all reds and blacks and violent brushstrokes. I think it looks like anger. Good anger or bad anger? Is there a difference? Sometimes. There's the anger that destroys everything, and the anger that pushes you to finally change. Lena tilted her head. This feels like the second kind. They moved through the gallery slowly, stopping in front of pieces that caught their attention. Some they agreed on, others they debated. Lena had opinions, strong ones, and Noah found himself enjoying the way she defended her interpretations, even when they were completely different from his own. Can I tell you a secret? Lena said as they stood in front of a calmer piece, all blues and soft edges. Sure. I used to paint before everything fell apart with my family. I was actually pretty good. Why'd you stop? Because it stopped being mine. My mother would critique everything I made, turn it into a lesson about technique or composition. My brother would ask if I was going to do anything serious with it or just keep it as a hobby. Eventually, it felt like one more thing I was supposed to be good at instead of something I did because I loved it. Noah understood that. Do you miss it? Sometimes. Mostly I miss the feeling of creating something just for me. No audience, no expectations, just the act of making something exist that didn't before. You should start again. Maybe I will. Lena looked at him. Do you ever miss writing? I don't know. I haven't thought about it in a long time. That's not an answer. Noah considered. Yeah, I guess I do, but I don't know what I'd write about. You could start small, just for yourself, like I could start painting again. We could both be terrible at it. Probably, but at least we'd be terrible together. They left the gallery around 9:30. Outside, the temperature had dropped, and Lena shivered slightly. Here. Noah shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. Now you'll be cold. I'll survive. They walked back toward the restaurant where they'd parked. The streets were quieter now, the dinner rush over, the bars just starting to fill up. Thank you, Lena said, for tonight, for taking the risk. I should be thanking you. This was nice. Nice? She raised an eyebrow. That's your review? Nice? Okay, it was better than nice. It was good, really good. Better. She stopped walking and turned to face him. Can I be honest about something? Yeah. I want to kiss you right now, but I don't want to push you, and I don't want to move too fast, and I'm trying to respect all the boundaries we talked about. So I'm just telling you what I want instead of actually doing it. Noah's heart kicked up. He could feel the space between them, charged and dangerous and full of possibility. Every rational part of his brain screamed at him to slow down, to think this through, to protect himself. But Emma's voice echoed in his head. What if she makes you happy? You should do it, Noah said quietly. Yeah? Yeah. Lena stepped closer. She was tall enough in her heels that she only had to tilt her head slightly to meet his mouth. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of them testing the waters. Then Lena's hand came up to cup the back of his neck, and Noah forgot to be careful. When they finally pulled apart, Lena was smiling. Was that too fast? Probably. Are you freaking out? Definitely. But I don't want to stop. She kissed him again, and this time Noah let himself sink into it, let himself forget about fear and logistics and all the reasons this could go wrong. For just a moment, he allowed himself to feel what he'd been avoiding for years, the terrifying, exhilarating rush of wanting someone. They eventually made it back to their cars, both of them slightly dazed. So, Lena said, leaning against her door, what now? Now I go home and probably panic for a few hours. And then? And then I'll text you tomorrow and we'll figure out the next step. Slowly? Slowly. Lena reached out and squeezed his hand. I can do slow, as long as we're moving forward. Noah drove home in a fog, his mind replaying the kiss, the conversation, the entire evening. When he got back to his apartment, his mother was on the couch watching television. How was it? She asked, not even trying to hide her curiosity. Good. Just good? Really good. His mother's smile was smug. I told you it was time. Yeah. So when do I get to meet her? Mom, I'm just saying, Emma's going to want to know who this mystery woman is. Noah hadn't thought that far ahead. The idea of introducing Lena to Emma felt enormous, weighted with implications he wasn't ready to process. We're taking it slow, he said. That's what they all say. After his mother left, Noah checked on Emma. She was asleep, her stuffed rabbit clutched in one arm, her hair a mess across the pillow. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her breathe, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over him like it always did. This was what mattered. Emma's safety, her happiness, her stability. But Lena's question echoed, what if she wants you to be happy too? Noah closed Emma's door gently and went to his own room. His phone buzzed with a text from Lena. I had a really good time tonight. Me too, he typed back. I'm trying not to overthink this. How's that going? Terribly. You? Same. Maybe we should just embrace the overthinking, make it part of the process. Noah smiled. That might actually help. So what are you overthinking right now? How to tell my daughter that I'm dating someone? Whether it's too soon, whether I'm being selfish. Those are big thoughts. Yeah. For what it's worth, I don't think you're being selfish. I think you're being human. That's what scares me. Why? Because humans make mistakes, and I can't afford to make mistakes with Emma. There was a pause before Lena replied. Can I tell you what I think? Sure. I think you're so focused on not making mistakes that you're forgetting that mistakes are how we learn, how we grow. Emma's going to see that. She's going to see her dad trying, even when it's scary, and that's going to teach her more than perfection ever could. Noah read the message 3 times. He wanted to believe it. Wanted to believe that trying and failing was better than never trying at all. Thank you, he typed. For what? For being patient. For understanding. Thank you for taking the risk. They texted for another half hour before saying goodnight. Noah lay in bed afterwards, staring at the ceiling, his mind too active for sleep. He thought about Lena's lips against his, the way she'd looked at him in the gallery, the honesty in every conversation they'd had. He thought about Emma's question and his mother's knowing smile, and Marcus's assessment that he'd been in survival mode too long. Mostly, he thought about what it might mean to let himself want something again, to stop protecting and start reaching. It was terrifying. But somewhere beneath the fear, buried under years of caution and self-preservation, Noah felt something else stirring, something that felt suspiciously like hope. And maybe, he thought as he finally drifted off to sleep, that was enough to start with. The hope lasted exactly 4 days. On Tuesday afternoon, Noah's boss called him into her office. Margaret Chen was normally unreadable, her face a professional mask that revealed nothing. But today Noah could see the tension in her jaw, the way her fingers drummed against her desk. "Close the door," she said. Noah did. His stomach dropped. Margaret didn't waste time. "There's been some talk around the office about you and a woman who's been visiting after hours." Noah's mind went blank. "What?" "Security mentioned it. Said you've had someone coming to your cubicle late at night. Multiple times." Margaret's expression was careful, neutral. "I need you to tell me what's going on." "Nothing's going on. She came once, maybe twice, to ask for advice, that's all." "Advice about what?" Noah hesitated. The truth sounded absurd. "Writing. She needed help with some personal writing." Margaret's eyebrow lifted slightly. "And this required after-hours meetings in the office?" "It wasn't planned. She just showed up the first time. The second time, I was already here working late." "Noah, I'm going to be direct with you. We've had concerns about employees using company resources for personal matters. And when security flags someone as a potential issue, I have to follow up." "A potential issue? She's not—" "Margaret, this is ridiculous. I helped someone with a writing project. That's it." "Is she a client?" "No." "A business contact?" "No." "Then who is she?" Noah felt trapped. The truth was complicated, and any version of it he gave would sound worse than it was. "She's someone I'm seeing, casually." Margaret leaned back in her chair. "So you are in a personal relationship with her?" "We've gone on one date, that's it." "But she's been here multiple times." "The first time was before anything happened between us. She just needed help." Margaret studied him for a long moment. "Noah, I'm not trying to make your life difficult, but you have to understand how this looks. A woman with no business connection to the company shows up late at night, multiple times, to see you privately. Security runs her plates, and it turns out she's connected to Vale Industries." Noah went cold. "How do you know that?" "Because security did their job, and when they flagged a potential security concern, they looked into it." Margaret's tone softened slightly. "I'm not accusing you of anything, but Vale Industries is a major player in commercial real estate. We've competed against them for financing deals. If there's any appearance of conflict of interest, there's no conflict. I don't even work on real estate accounts. You work on financial analysis that could theoretically be relevant to anyone in the development sector." "Margaret, this is insane. I helped her with a dating profile. That's the entire connection." The words hung in the air. Margaret's expression shifted, somewhere between disbelief and amusement. "A dating profile?" "Yes." "That's your explanation?" "That's the truth." Margaret rubbed her temples. "All right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to note that we had this conversation, that you've explained the situation, and that there's no conflict of interest. But Noah, I need you to be smart about this. No more late-night visits to the office. If you want to see this woman, do it on your own time and your own property." "Understood." "And if this relationship develops into something serious, you need to disclose it, just to cover yourself." Noah stood. "It won't be an issue." "I hope not, because you're a good analyst, and I'd hate to see you compromise your position over something avoidable." Noah left the office feeling like he'd been punched. He went back to his desk, sat down, and stared at his computer screen without seeing it. His phone buzzed. "Lena. Lunch today?" Noah's hand shook slightly as he typed back. "Can't. Work thing came up." "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just busy." He could feel the lie in the words, could imagine Lena reading them and knowing something was off. But he couldn't deal with this right now. Couldn't explain that their casual coffee shop meetings had turned into a security flag, that her last name carried weight he hadn't fully understood. Marcus appeared at his cubicle around 2. "You all right, man? You look like someone kicked your dog." "I'm fine." That's what people say when they're definitely not fine. Noah glanced around to make sure no one was listening, then lowered his voice. "Margaret called me in. Apparently security's been watching me because Lena came by a few times." Marcus's eyes widened. "Seriously?" "Yeah. And they looked her up. Found out she's connected to Vale Industries. decided it might be a conflict of interest. That's insane. That's what I said. What did Margaret say? That I need to be careful. No more office visits. Full disclosure if things get serious. Marcus leaned against the cubicle wall. So what are you going to do? I don't know. Are you going to tell Lena? Noah hadn't thought that far ahead. I don't know that either. Dude, you have to tell her. If you just pull back without explaining, she's going to think you're bailing. Maybe I should be bailing. Why? Because your boss is paranoid? Because this is exactly what I was afraid of. Complications, risks, things that could blow up and affect Emma. Marcus shook his head. You're catastrophizing. Am I? My boss just told me I'm being watched because of who I'm dating. That's not catastrophizing, that's reality. It's an overreaction by security that Margaret already shut down. You said so yourself. She's not accusing you of anything. Not yet. Noah, listen to yourself. You're looking for reasons to run. I'm being realistic. No, you're being scared. There's a difference. Marcus straightened. Look, I get it. This is new and uncomfortable and it's pushing you out of your comfort zone. But you can't just shut down every time something gets difficult. I'm not shutting down. I'm being cautious. You're building walls. Again. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. And eventually, Lena's going to stop trying to climb over them. After Marcus left, Noah tried to focus on work. But his mind kept circling back to the conversation with Margaret, to the implications of what had happened. It wasn't just about the security flag or the potential conflict of interest. It was about what all of this represented, the intrusion of his carefully controlled life, the vulnerability of letting someone in, the reminder that nothing was ever as simple as he wanted it to be. His phone buzzed again. Lena, you're being weird. What's actually going on? Noah stared at the message. He could tell her the truth, explain what happened, trust that she'd understand. Or he could deflect, create distance, protect himself from the mess that seemed to be forming. He chose deflection. Just stressed about work. Can we talk later? Sure. Call me when you can. But Noah didn't call. Not that night, and not the next day. He told himself he needed time to think, to process what had happened, to figure out the right way forward. In reality, he was retreating, pulling back into the safe patterns he'd built over the years. Emma noticed on Wednesday. Did you have a fight with the lady? She asked over dinner. Noah looked up from his plate. What lady? The one who made you happy. You have your thinking face again. We didn't have a fight. Then why aren't you happy anymore? Because I'm scared. Because I don't know how to do this. Because every time I try to let someone in, it reminds me of everything I could lose. It's complicated, Bug. Emma stabbed at her broccoli. Grown-ups always say that. Because it's true. I think you should just tell her you're sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. Then tell her you miss her. That's what I do when I fight with Sophie. Noah smiled despite himself. It's a little different with adults. Why? People are people. Out of the mouths of 8-year-olds. Noah reached over and ruffled her hair. When did you get so smart about relationships? I watch a lot of TV when you're not looking. On Thursday, Lena stopped texting. The silence was worse than Noah expected. He found himself checking his phone constantly, waiting for messages that didn't come. By Thursday night, he broke down and sent her a message. I'm sorry I've been distant. The response came an hour later. Are you ending this? No, I just needed some space. Space from what? Noah hesitated. Then he typed out the whole story. The meeting with Margaret, the security flag, the concerns about conflict of interest. He expected Lena to be angry or defensive. Instead, her response was quiet. I'm sorry, I didn't think about how it might affect you. It's not your fault. Still, I should have been more careful. Lena, you didn't do anything wrong. Then why does this feel like you're pushing me away? Because I am. Because it's what I do when things get hard. Because I don't know how to be vulnerable without feeling like I'm about to shatter. I'm not trying to push you away. I'm just trying to figure this out. Figure what out? How to do this without it affecting Emma, without it affecting my job, without it falling apart like everything else. There was a long pause. Then, can we talk? In person? When? Tomorrow night, after Emma's asleep. Noah agreed, even though the idea of facing Lena made his chest tight. Friday dragged. Noah went through the motions at work, barely registering the spreadsheets and reports. Marcus tried to talk to him at lunch, but Noah deflected. He picked Emma up from school, helped her with homework, made dinner, went through the bedtime routine on autopilot. After Emma was asleep, he texted Lena his address. She arrived 20 minutes later, looking tired and worried. "Hi," she said when he opened the door. "Hi." They sat on his couch, the space between them feeling wider than it actually was. "I've been thinking about what you said," Lena started, "about how you're trying to figure this out. And I get it, Noah. I really do. This is scary for both of us. But I need to know if you're actually trying to figure it out or if you're just looking for an exit." Noah's throat tightened. "I don't want an exit." "Then what do you want?" "I want this to work. I want to be with you, but I also want to protect Emma and my job and all the stability I've built. And I don't know how to do both." Lena leaned forward. "So talk to me about it, instead of disappearing for 3 days and making me guess what you're thinking." "I didn't disappear. You pulled back. Same thing." She was right. Noah knew she was right. "I'm sorry." "I don't need you to be sorry. I need you to trust me enough to tell me when something's wrong." Lena's voice softened. "I know you've been hurt before. I know you have reasons to be careful. But if we're going to do this, I need you to let me in. Actually let me in, not just when it's easy." "I'm trying." "I know. But trying isn't enough if you shut down every time something gets complicated." Noah felt something crack inside him. "What do you want me to say, Lena? That I'm terrified? That every time something good happens, I'm waiting for it to fall apart? That I look at Emma and think about how much I could hurt her if I make the wrong choice?" "Yes. I want you to say all of that because that's real. That's honest." Lena reached for his hand. "I'm terrified too. I'm terrified that you're going to decide I'm not worth the risk, that my last name or my family's mess is going to be too complicated, that I'm going to fall for you and you're going to walk away because it got hard." Noah looked at their joined hands. "I don't want to walk away." "Then don't. It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because what if this doesn't work? What if we try and it falls apart and Emma gets attached to you and then you're gone? What if it does work?" Lena's grip tightened. "What if we try and it's actually good? What if Emma gets to see her dad happy and in a healthy relationship? What if we build something real instead of letting fear kill it before it even has a chance?" Noah wanted to believe it. Wanted to believe that hope wasn't just another word for inevitable disappointment. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "Neither do I, but I think we figure it out together." Lena moved closer. "Noah, I'm not asking for perfect. I'm not asking for guarantees. I'm just asking you to stay. To not run the first time things get messy." "What about your family, the company, all the baggage you're carrying?" "What about it?" Margaret was right. There could be conflicts, complications. So we deal with them, transparently, honestly. Lena's eyes searched his. "Unless you're using that as an excuse, I'm not." "Then what's the real issue?" Noah exhaled slowly. "I'm afraid that if I let myself want this, really want it, and it doesn't work out, I won't recover. Emma will be fine. She's resilient. But me, I don't know if I can go through that again." Lena was quiet for a moment. "Can I tell you something my therapist told me?" "You have a therapist?" "Everyone should have a therapist, especially people with family drama." She smiled faintly. "She told me that avoiding pain doesn't actually protect you from it. It just guarantees that you'll be alone when it comes. But if you let people in, if you build real connections, then when hard things happen, and they will happen, you don't have to face them alone." That sounds nice in theory. It's terrifying in practice. But it's also true. Lena squeezed his hand. "I'm not saying I'll never hurt you. I probably will, because I'm human and I make mistakes. But I'm saying I'll try not to. And when I do, I'll stick around to fix it." Noah looked at her, really looked at her. At the hope and fear mixing in her expression, at the vulnerability she was offering even though he'd given her every reason to protect herself. "I want to try," he said finally. "I want to stop running." "Yeah? Yeah, but I need you to be patient with me, because I'm going to mess this up sometimes." "I can do patient, as long as you promise to actually talk to me instead of shutting down." "I promise to try. That's all I'm asking." They sat in silence for a moment, the tension slowly easing. "So, what do we do about work?" Noah asked. "You tell Margaret the truth. That we're dating, that there's no conflict of interest, and that if one ever comes up, you'll recuse yourself. You document everything, stay transparent, and don't give them any reason to question your integrity. And what about your family, your company? I've already distanced myself from the operations. I'm a silent shareholder, nothing more. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can talk to my lawyer." Lena's voice was firm. "I'm not letting my brother's mistakes dictate my life, not anymore." Noah admired that. The quiet strength in her decision to separate herself from something toxic, even when it meant walking away from power and control. "All right," he said, "we do this. For real." Lena smiled. "For real?" She stayed for another hour. They talked through logistics, how to handle Emma, when to have the conversation about meeting each other's families, how to navigate the professional complications. It wasn't romantic or dramatic. It was practical, realistic, the kind of planning that relationships actually required. When Lena finally left, Noah felt lighter. Not because the problems had disappeared, but because he wasn't carrying them alone anymore. The next morning, Emma asked if he'd talked to the lady. "Yeah, Bug, I did." "Did you tell her you were sorry?" "I told her I was scared, and that I wanted to try anyway." Emma considered this while eating her cereal. "That's good. Being brave is better than being sorry." Noah laughed. "You're absolutely right." On Monday, Noah requested a meeting with Margaret. He laid out everything: the nature of his relationship with Lena, her connection to Vale Industries, his commitment to full transparency. Margaret listened, made notes, and eventually nodded. "I appreciate you coming forward," she said. "And for the record, I don't think there's any actual conflict here, but having it documented protects everyone." "I understand. For what it's worth, Noah, I hope it works out. You seem happier than I've seen you in the 3 years you've worked here." Noah was surprised by the comment. "Thanks." He texted Lena afterward. "Meeting went fine. Everything's documented. Told you it would be okay. You're very smug about being right. It's one of my best qualities." Noah smiled at his phone. Marcus walked by and shook his head. "You've got it bad." "Yeah," Noah admitted. "I really do." That weekend, Noah introduced Lena to Emma. Not as his girlfriend, that felt too formal, too weighted, but as his friend who might be around more often. He'd agonized over how to handle it, but in the end, Emma made it easy. They met at a park. Lena brought a kite, which immediately won Emma over. "You know how to fly kites?" Emma asked, eyes wide. "I used to when I was little. Want to try?" Emma nodded enthusiastically, and they spent the next hour running around the field, trying to get the kite airborne. Noah watched from a bench, his chest tight with something that felt like gratitude. Eventually, Emma ran back to him, breathless and happy. "Daddy, did you see? We got it so high." "I saw. You did great." Emma plopped down next to him. "I like her. She's nice." "Yeah, she is." "Is she your girlfriend?" Noah glanced at Lena, who was winding up the kite string. "Maybe. Would that be okay with you?" Emma thought about it. "Will she come over sometimes?" "Probably." "Will she be nice to me?" "Always." "Then it's okay." Emma jumped up and ran back to Lena, already talking about something else. Lena caught Noah's eye and smiled. He smiled back, feeling something shift. Not fear this time, but possibility. Later, after Emma had exhausted herself and they'd gotten ice cream, Lena walked them back to Noah's car. "She's wonderful," Lena said quietly. "She liked you." "That's a relief." "I think she'd like anyone who brought a kite." Lena laughed. "Smart strategy on my part." Emma was already in the car, buckled in and half asleep. Noah leaned against the driver's door, not quite ready to leave. "Thank you," he said, "for being patient with me, with all of this. You're worth it." Lena stepped closer. "We're worth it." Noah kissed her, quick and soft, aware of Emma potentially watching from the car. "I'll call you later," he said. "You better." On the drive home, Emma was unusually quiet. Noah glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "You okay, Bug?" "Yeah, I was just thinking." "About what?" "About how you don't have your thinking face anymore. You have your happy face again." Noah's throat tightened. "Yeah, I guess I do." "Good. I like the happy face better." That night, after Emma was asleep, Noah pulled out an old notebook he'd kept from college. The pages were yellowed, filled with fragments of stories he'd started and abandoned. He flipped through them, remembering the version of himself who'd believed writing mattered, who'd thought he might actually have something to say. He turned to a blank page and started writing. Not about anything specific, just words stringing themselves together, thoughts taking shape. It felt rusty and awkward and strangely good. His phone buzzed. Lena. What are you doing? Writing. Really? Yeah, just messing around. That's amazing. What are you writing about? Noah looked at the page, at the messy handwriting and half-formed ideas. I don't know yet. Just trying to remember what it feels like. I'm proud of you. It's just scribbling. It's more than that. It's you doing something just for yourself. Noah set down the pen and stared at his phone. Lena understood. She understood that this wasn't about producing something good or meaningful. It was about reclaiming a part of himself he'd lost, about choosing to create instead of just survive. Thank you, he typed, for everything. Thank you for letting me in. Noah wrote for another hour, losing track of time, letting the words come without overthinking them. When he finally stopped, his hand was cramped and his head was clear. He looked at what he'd written. It was rough, unpolished, probably terrible, but it was his, and that was enough. The writing became a ritual. Every night after Emma went to bed, Noah would sit at the kitchen table with his notebook and let words spill onto the page. Some nights he wrote about Emma, capturing the small moments that made up their life together. Other nights he wrote about Lena, trying to make sense of what he was feeling. Mostly, he wrote about himself. The version he'd been, the version he was becoming, the gap between the two. Lena started painting again around the same time. She'd send him photos of her progress, abstract pieces that looked like controlled chaos, all bold colors and sharp lines softening at the edges. They never talked about it directly, this parallel return to creation, but it felt significant, like they were both learning to reclaim parts of themselves they'd buried under practicality and fear. 3 weeks after the park, Lena came over for dinner. It was the first time she'd been to the apartment when Emma was awake, and Noah was irrationally nervous about it. He'd cleaned the place twice, made sure there were fresh flowers on the table, prepped a meal he actually knew how to cook without burning. Emma, naturally, had no such anxiety. "Are you Noah's girlfriend now?" she asked the moment Lena walked through the door. "Emma," Noah said, mortified. Lena laughed. "It's okay. And yes, I am. Is that all right with you?" Emma nodded seriously. "Yeah, but you have to know some things." "Like what?" "Daddy doesn't like mushrooms, and he always falls asleep during movies. And sometimes he sings in the shower, but he's really bad at it." "Emma!" "What?" "It's true." Lena was trying not to laugh. "Those are good things to know. Thank you. Also, he worries a lot, so if you make him happy, he'll stop worrying so much." Noah felt his face heat. Okay, that's enough sharing for today. But Lena was looking at Emma with something warm in her expression. "I'll do my best to make him happy." "Good." Emma grabbed Lena's hand. "Come see my room. I have a dollhouse." They disappeared down the hall, and Noah stood in the kitchen, listening to Emma's enthusiastic narration and Lena's genuine responses. Something in his chest loosened. Dinner was easier than Noah expected. Emma dominated the conversations, telling Lena about school and her friends and the elaborate game she'd invented involving her stuffed animals. Lena listened like Emma was the most interesting person in the world, asking questions, laughing at the right moments, treating her like a person instead of just a kid. After dinner, they played a board game that Emma insisted on. Lena turned out to be competitive in a way that delighted Emma, the two of them forming an alliance against Noah that resulted in his spectacular defeat. "You let them win," Lena accused afterward. "I did not. You absolutely did." "Okay, maybe a little." Emma was already asleep on the couch, worn out from excitement. Noah carried her to bed while Lena cleaned up the game pieces. When he came back, Lena was standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. "She's amazing," Lena said quietly. "Yeah, she is. And she's lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one." Lena turned to face him. "Can I tell you something?" "Always. I was terrified tonight. That she wouldn't like me, or that I'd say the wrong thing, or that I'd somehow mess this up before it even really started." "You were perfect." "I wasn't. I was nervous and probably too enthusiastic about that board game. Lena smiled. But Emma made it easy. She's so open, so willing to just accept people. She gets that from her grandmother, definitely not from me. I don't know. You let me in. Eventually, after a lot of panicking, still counts, Lena moved closer. Thank you for this. For letting me be part of this. Noah pulled her into a kiss, slow and deep, the kind of kiss that felt like a promise. When they broke apart, Lena's eyes were bright. Stay, Noah said. Tonight. We can just talk, or watch a movie, or nothing. Just stay. Okay. They ended up on the couch, Lena tucked against Noah's side, some movie playing that neither of them paid attention to. They talked about small things, work frustrations, weekend plans, the book Lena was reading that she couldn't decide if she liked. It was ordinary, domestic, exactly the kind of moment Noah had convinced himself he didn't need. He was wrong. Around midnight, Lena dozed off, her head on his shoulder. Noah didn't move. He just sat there, feeling the weight of her against him, the steady rhythm of her breathing, the simple fact of not being alone. When Lena finally stirred around 1, she blinked up at him sleepily. I should go. You could stay. In the guest room, I mean. Yeah? Yeah. Lena stayed. In the morning, Emma found her making pancakes in the kitchen and declared it the best surprise ever. Noah watched them together, Lena teaching Emma how to flip the pancakes, both of them laughing when one landed on the floor, and felt something dangerous taking root, something that looked a lot like a future. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Lena came over twice a week for dinner. Sometimes she and Noah would go out on weekends while Emma stayed with Noah's mother. Sometimes all three of them would do something together. The zoo, a movie, the park. It wasn't perfect. Emma had moments of territorial behavior, clinging to Noah whenever Lena was around. Lena sometimes tried too hard, overcompensating when Emma pulled back. And Noah found himself constantly monitoring both of them, trying to manage everyone's emotions while ignoring his own. You're doing it again, Lena said one night after Emma had gone to bed. Doing what? Worrying. I can see it all over your face. Noah sighed. Emma was quiet tonight, quieter than usual. She's allowed to have quiet days. I know, but what if she's not adjusting well? What if this is too much, too fast? Then we slow down. We talk to her. We adjust. Lena took his hand. But you can't read her mind, Noah. And you can't protect her from every possible negative emotion. I can try. You can drive yourself crazy. There's a difference. Noah knew she was right, but the fear was always there, lurking beneath the surface. The fear that he was being selfish, that his happiness would somehow cost Emma hers. The breaking point came on a Wednesday. Noah was at work when his phone rang. Emma's school. Mr. Carter, this is Principal Hayes. Emma's fine, but there was an incident today. Noah's stomach dropped. What kind of incident? She got into an altercation with another student. Some pushing, some yelling. Nothing serious, but we need you to come pick her up. Noah left work immediately. When he got to the school, Emma was sitting in the principal's office, arms crossed, face red and blotchy from crying. What happened? Noah asked, crouching down in front of her. Emma's lip trembled. Sophie said you were going to forget about me because you have a new family now. Noah's heart cracked. Oh, bug. She said you're going to get married and have new kids, and I won't matter anymore. That's not true. That's never going to be true. But you're always with Lena now, and you're happy with her. What if you don't need me anymore? Noah pulled Emma into his arms. Listen to me. You are the most important person in my life. Always. That doesn't change because I'm dating someone. That will never change. Promise? I promise. Lena is part of my life because I care about her. But you're my daughter. You're my family. Nothing is more important than that. Emma cried into his shoulder, and Noah held her, feeling his own eyes burn. After a few minutes, Principal Hayes cleared her throat gently. I think we can call this handled, but Emma, next time someone says something that upsets you, you come talk to a teacher instead of pushing them. Understood? Emma nodded, still sniffling. Noah took her home. They skipped homework and dinner prep and instead built a blanket fort in the living room, just the two of them. They watched cartoons and ate cereal straight from the box and talked about nothing important. By the time Emma fell asleep in the fort, she seemed better. but Noah felt shaken. He texted Lena, "Can you come over after Emma's asleep? We need to talk." She arrived an hour later, concern written all over her face. What happened? Noah told her everything, the fight, Emma's fears, the raw vulnerability in his daughter's voice when she asked if she still mattered. "I should have seen this coming," Noah said. "Should have talked to her more, prepared her better. You can't predict everything." "But I should have known. She's been pulling back, getting quieter. I just didn't want to see it." Lena sat down beside him. "What do you need from me?" "I don't know. Maybe we need to slow down." "Okay. Maybe I need to spend more one-on-one time with her. Make sure she knows nothing's changed." "Of course." Noah ran his hands through his hair. "This is what I was afraid of, that bringing someone into our lives would shake up her stability." "Noah, kids are resilient. Emma's going through an adjustment, but that doesn't mean this was a mistake." "What if it was?" Lena went still. "You're doing it again. You're catastrophizing." "I'm being realistic." "No, you're spiraling." Lena's voice was firm but not unkind. "Emma had a hard day. Kids have hard days. It doesn't mean we're destroying her life." "You don't understand. You're not a parent." The words came out harsher than Noah intended. He saw Lena flinch, saw hurt flash across her face. "You're right," Lena said quietly. "I'm not, but I care about her, and I care about you, and I'm trying to be supportive here." "I know. I'm sorry. That was unfair. Do you want me to leave? Give you space?" Noah wanted to say no, wanted to pull her close and let her help carry this. But fear was louder than want. "Maybe that's best. Just for tonight." Lena stood. She looked tired, worn down in a way Noah hadn't seen before. "All right. Call me when you're ready to talk." After she left, Noah sat in the dark apartment, listening to Emma's soft breathing from the other room. He'd done what he always did, pushed away, created distance, chosen safety over connection. And he knew, even as he did it, that he was making a mistake. The next day, Emma seemed better. They talked over breakfast about feelings and change and how it was okay to be scared of new things. Emma promised to talk to Noah instead of pushing people. Noah promised to check in with her more, to make sure she always knew she came first. "I like Lena," Emma said as Noah walked her to school. "I was just worried." "I know, Bug, and it's okay to be worried, but you can always tell me when you are." "Will you tell her I'm sorry for making things weird?" "You didn't make anything weird, but I'll tell her." Except Noah didn't call Lena. Not that day, and not the next. He told himself he was giving Emma space to adjust, time to feel secure again. In reality, he was avoiding the conversation he knew needed to happen. The one where he acknowledged that he'd pushed Lena away, used Emma as an excuse to retreat into old patterns. Lena texted on Friday, "I miss you." Noah stared at the message for a long time before replying, "Miss you too. Can we talk?" "Actually talk?" "Yeah. Tomorrow? After I drop Emma at my mom's? I'll be at my place." Saturday morning felt heavy. Noah made Emma pancakes, packed her overnight bag, drove her to his mother's house. His mother took one look at his face and frowned. "What did you do?" "What makes you think I did something?" "Because I know that look. That's your I messed up and I know it look." Noah slumped against the door frame. "I might have sabotaged things with Lena." "Might have?" "Did. I did sabotage things." His mother sighed. "Come in. Emma, go find Grandpa. I need to talk to your father." Emma scampered off, and Noah followed his mother into the kitchen. "Tell me what happened," she said. So he did. The whole story. Emma's fight, his panic, the way he'd pushed Lena away. "And now you're going to her place to do what, exactly?" his mother asked when he finished. "Apologize. Try to fix it." "Do you want to fix it?" "Yes." "Then stop using Emma as an excuse." Noah bristled. "I'm not." "You are." Emma had a hard moment, and instead of working through it with Lena, you shut her out. You're so terrified of Emma getting hurt that you're guaranteeing she'll see you alone and unhappy. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Noah, Emma is fine. She's adjusting to a change, which is normal. But you're treating every bump in the road like a catastrophe. His mother's voice softened. You deserve to be happy, and Emma deserves to see what a healthy relationship looks like. Stop punishing yourself for wanting both. Noah sat with that for a long moment. What if I can't do it? What if I can't balance Emma and a relationship? Then you communicate with both of them. You make adjustments. You don't just give up the first time it gets hard. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just haven't been listening. Noah drove to Lena's apartment with his mother's words echoing in his head. Lena lived in a renovated loft downtown, all exposed brick and high ceilings. She answered the door in jeans and an old t-shirt, no makeup, hair pulled back. She looked beautiful and guarded. "Hi," Noah said. "Hi, come in." The apartment was exactly what Noah expected. Clean, minimalist, with vintage maps framed on the walls and a half-finished painting on an easel by the window. Classical music played softly from a speaker. "Do you want coffee?" Lena asked. "No, I just want to talk." They sat on her couch. Lena waited, letting Noah find his words. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for shutting you out, for using Emma as an excuse to run. I know you were scared. Being scared doesn't make it okay." "No, but it makes it understandable." Lena drew her knees up to her chest. "I'm scared too, Noah. I'm scared that every time something gets hard, you're going to pull away, that I'm always going to be the one fighting to stay while you look for the exit. That's not what I want." "Then what do you want?" Noah took a breath. "I want to stop being so terrified that I sabotage the best thing that's happened to me in years. I want to trust that we can work through problems instead of running from them. I want to believe that wanting you and being a good father aren't mutually exclusive." Lena's eyes were bright. "They're not. I know. Logically, I know. But fear isn't logical. So what do? We keep trying. And when I start to spiral, you call me on it. And I promise to actually listen instead of shutting down. Can you do that?" "I don't know, but I want to try." Lena unfolded herself and moved closer. "I need you to understand something. I'm not going anywhere. But I can't be in a relationship where I'm constantly proving that I'm not going to hurt you. At some point, you have to choose to trust me." "I do trust you." "Then act like it. Let me in when things are hard, not just when they're easy." Noah pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry. For all of it." "I know." Lena's voice was muffled against his shoulder. "But sorry isn't enough if the pattern keeps repeating." "I know that too." They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, letting the tension slowly drain away. Eventually, Lena pulled back. "Emma sent me a message," she said. "Through you, I guess. She wanted me to know she's sorry for making things weird. She thinks it's her fault. It's not. This is between you and me." Lena paused. "But I think maybe we should talk to her together. All three of us. Make sure she knows that adults work through problems instead of just giving up." Noah nodded. "That's a good idea. And maybe I should spend a little less time at your place for a while. Let Emma have you to herself more. Not because I'm pulling away, but because she needs to feel secure." "You'd do that?" "Of course. This isn't just about what we want. Emma's part of this equation, and she needs to know she matters." Noah felt something shift in his chest. Lena wasn't just saying the right things. She meant them. She was willing to adjust, to compromise, to put Emma's needs alongside their own. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. On us." Lena smiled. "I told you I could be patient." They spent the rest of the afternoon together. Noah told her about the writing he'd been doing, showed her some of the pages on his phone. Lena showed him her paintings, explaining the techniques she was relearning, the frustration of not being as good as she used to be. "It'll come back," Noah said, studying a canvas covered in blues and greens. "You just need practice." "That's what you need too." "With the writing." "Maybe we should make a deal. Both commit to creating something regularly. Hold each other accountable." "I like that." Lena pulled out her phone. "What if we set a schedule? Like every Sunday night we share what we've been working on. No judgment. No judgment. Just encouragement." They shook on it, and Noah felt lighter than he had in days. When he picked up Emma that evening, his mother pulled him aside. "Did you fix it?" "I think so. We're working on it." "Good. Because that woman is good for you, and you're an idiot if you let her go." "Thanks, Mom." Very subtle. Emma was quiet on the drive home. Finally, she said, "Are you still mad at me?" "I was never mad at you, Bug. But I made you fight with Lena." "You didn't make us fight." We had some things we needed to work through. That's not your fault. Is she still your girlfriend? Yeah, she is. Good. I don't want her to go away. Noah glanced at her in the rearview mirror. I thought you were worried about me forgetting about you. I was. But then I thought about it, and I think maybe having Lena around is good. Because you're happy when she's here. And when you're happy, I'm happy. Noah's throat tightened. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart, Daddy. You just forget sometimes. That night, after Emma was in bed, Noah sat down with his notebook. He wrote about fear and trust, and the slow, painful process of learning to stay instead of run. He wrote about Emma's wisdom and Lena's patience and his own stumbling attempts to be better. When he finished, he took a photo and sent it to Lena with the message, "First accountability check. Here's mine." She responded with a picture of her painting, abstract shapes that somehow conveyed movement and emotion. "Here's mine. We're doing it." "Yeah, we are." Noah set down his phone and stared at the notebook page. The words weren't perfect, but they were honest, and maybe that was all that mattered. The Sunday accountability sessions became their anchor. Every week, without fail, Noah and Lena would share what they'd created, his writing, her paintings, both of them stumbling through the awkwardness of being beginners again. Sometimes Emma would sit with them, drawing her own pictures or making up stories about her stuffed animals. Other times it was just the two of them, late at night, phones glowing in the dark as they sent photos back and forth. It wasn't grand or romantic. It was just consistent. And consistency, Noah was learning, mattered more than perfection. 2 months after their fight, Lena's brother called her. Noah was at her apartment when it happened. They'd just finished dinner, something Lena had attempted to cook that turned out only slightly burned, and were cleaning up when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and went pale. "It's David," she said. "Your brother?" "Yeah, I haven't talked to him in almost a year." She stared at the phone like it might explode. "I should probably answer. Do you want privacy?" "No, stay," Lena answered, putting it on speaker. "David?" "Lena, hi." Her brother's voice was strained, formal. "I know this is unexpected, but I need to talk to you about the company." "I'm not coming back. We've been over this." "I'm not asking you to come back. I'm asking you to sell me your shares." Lena's grip on the phone tightened. "Why?" "Because I'm trying to clean up the mess I made. The board wants fresh investors, people without ties to the scandal, and having your name attached, even as a silent partner, is making that difficult. So I'm a liability now." "That's not what I'm saying." "That's exactly what you're saying." Lena's voice was sharp. "You want me gone completely, erased from the company Dad built." "Lena, please. I'm trying to save what's left, and I can't do that with half the board questioning your involvement." "I'm not involved. I haven't been involved in 3 years. But you still own 20%, and that matters to investors." David exhaled. "I'll pay you fair market value. More than fair. You can finally be completely free of all this." Lena looked at Noah. He could see the conflict in her eyes. Anger, hurt, and something that looked like relief all tangled together. "I need time to think about it," she said. "How much time?" "A week, maybe 2. "Lena, that's my offer, David. Take it or don't." She hung up before he could respond. For a long moment, she just stood there, phone in hand, staring at nothing. "You okay?" Noah asked. "I don't know." Lena set the phone down carefully, like it might shatter. "Part of me wants to tell him to go to hell, to hold on to those shares just to spite him. And the other part wants to be done, completely done. No more ties, no more connections to any of it." She looked at Noah. "What would you do?" "I can't answer that. It's your family, your history." "But if you were in my position?" Noah considered. "I'd ask myself what I'm holding on to and why. If it's about the company, about preserving your father's legacy, that's one thing. But if it's about fear or guilt or not wanting to let go, that's different." Lena nodded slowly. "I think I've been holding on because letting go felt like admitting defeat. Like everything that happened, the scandal, the distance from my family, was all for nothing." "It wasn't for nothing. You got yourself out. You built a new life." "Did I? Or did I just run away and pretend I was making a choice?" "Does it matter? You're here now, and you get to decide what comes next." Lena spent the next week wrestling with the decision. She talked to lawyers, reviewed financial documents, called her mother for the first time in months. Noah watched her cycle through anger, grief, and eventually something that looked like acceptance. He didn't try to fix it or offer solutions. He just stayed close, let her process, reminded her that she didn't have to decide alone. On Thursday night, Lena came to Noah's apartment with a bottle of wine and a decision.
"I'm going to sell," she said, pouring herself a glass. "All of it. The shares, the board seat I never used, everything." "You're sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Lena took a long drink. "I've been holding on to this company like it was the only thing connecting me to my father, but he's been gone 3 years, and clutching his legacy isn't bringing him back. It's just keeping me stuck." Noah sat beside her. "What changed your mind?" "You did, actually. And Emma." Lena smiled faintly. "Watching you two together, seeing how you've built this life that's completely yours, it made me realize I've been living in the shadow of something that doesn't exist anymore. My father's gone. The company he built is barely recognizable, and I've been so busy protecting a memory that I forgot to build something new. So what happens now?" "Now I sign the papers, take the money, and figure out what I actually want to do with my life." She looked at him. "Any suggestions?" "You could start that art studio you mentioned once, or go back to school, or travel, or do absolutely nothing for a while." "Nothing sounds terrifying." "Yeah, it does." Noah took her hand. "But you don't have to decide tonight. You just have to take the first step." Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just haven't been paying attention." She laughed, and Noah felt some of the tension leave her body. They sat like that for a while, drinking wine and talking about possibilities. By the time Lena left, she looked lighter. Not happy exactly, but free in a way Noah hadn't seen before. The papers were signed 2 weeks later. Lena showed up at Noah's place afterward, looking exhausted but relieved. "It's done," she said. "I'm officially no longer part of Vale Industries." Emma, who'd been coloring at the kitchen table, looked up. "Does that mean you're not rich anymore?" "Emma," Noah said, mortified. But Lena laughed. "I'm still comfortable, just not tied to a company I don't believe in anymore." "Oh, that's good then." Emma went back to her coloring, completely unbothered. That night, after Emma was asleep, Lena and Noah sat on the couch with glasses of wine, talking about what came next. "I've been thinking about what you said," Lena started, "about building something new." "Yeah? I want to open a community art space. Nothing fancy, just a place where people can come paint or draw or create without worrying about being good enough. Like therapy, but with art supplies." Noah smiled. "That sounds perfect for you." "You think so?" "I know so. You're good at making people feel seen. This would just be another way to do that." Lena's eyes were bright. "I'm terrified I'll fail." "You probably will, at least at first, but you'll figure it out." "How do you know?" "Because you always do. You walked away from your family's company with no plan. You rebuilt your entire identity from scratch. You learned to paint again after years of not touching a brush. You're resilient, Lena. You just don't give yourself credit for it." She kissed him then, deep and grateful, and Noah felt something settle in his chest. This was it. This was what he'd been so afraid of. Real connection, genuine intimacy, the terrifying vulnerability of letting someone matter. And it was nothing like he'd imagined. It wasn't smooth or easy or without complications. But it was real. And real, he was learning, was worth fighting for. 3 months later, Lena signed a lease on a small storefront in a neighborhood that was trying hard to be artistic. The space was rough, peeling paint, ancient floors, plumbing that made alarming noises, but Lena saw potential. She spent weeks renovating, painting walls in soft colors, installing good lighting, building shelves for supplies. Noah helped when he could. Emma supervised with crayons and unsolicited advice, and slowly the space transformed. The grand opening was small and chaotic. Lena had invited friends, former colleagues, people from the neighborhood. Noah came with Emma, who immediately claimed a corner and started painting something that looked like a very abstract cat. Lena moved through the crowd, nervous but glowing, explaining her vision to anyone who would listen. Noah watched her from across the room, feeling something that might have been pride.
This woman who'd walked into his office months ago, polished and guarded and asking for help with a dating profile, had become someone entirely different. Not different, he corrected himself, just more herself, less afraid of being seen. She's really happy, his mother said, appearing at his elbow. Yeah, she is. So are you. Noah glanced at her. You say that like it's a surprise. It is a little. You spent so long convinced you didn't deserve it. His mother squeezed his arm. I'm glad you were wrong. At the end of the night, after everyone left, Noah helped Lena clean up. Emma had crashed on a beanbag in the corner, worn out from excitement and sugar. Thank you, Lena said, sweeping paint chips into a dustpan. For everything. For believing in this when I didn't. I always believed in you. Even when I was a mess? Especially then. Lena set down the dustpan and wrapped her arms around his waist. I love you. I know we haven't said it yet, and maybe it's too soon, but I do. I love you. Noah's heart kicked up. He'd known it for weeks, maybe longer, but hearing it out loud made it real in a way that terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. I love you too, he said. Have for a while now. Why didn't you say anything? Because I'm an idiot who's scared of everything. Lena laughed against his chest. Well, I'm glad you're my idiot. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other in the paint-spattered studio. Emma snoring softly in the corner, the future spreading out ahead of them, full of uncertainty and possibility. 6 months passed. The studio thrived in a small, scrappy way, never quite profitable, but sustained by grants and donations and Lena's sheer determination. Emma started 3rd grade and declared that Lena was her second favorite person after Noah, which felt like a significant milestone. Noah got promoted at work, a small bump in title and salary that came with more responsibility, but also more satisfaction. And slowly, carefully, the three of them became something that looked like a family. It wasn't perfect. Emma had moments of jealousy when Lena stayed over. Lena struggled with the balance between being involved in Emma's life and respecting boundaries. Noah still spiraled sometimes, convinced that everything was about to fall apart, but they talked through it. They adjusted. They kept showing up, even when it was hard. One Sunday in October, they were at the park, the same one where Lena had brought the kite months ago. Emma was on the swings, pumping her legs and shouting for them to watch how high she could go. Lena sat beside Noah on a bench, her hand in his, watching Emma with a soft expression. Can I ask you something? Lena said. Always. Do you ever think about the future? Like, our future? Noah's pulse quickened. Sometimes. Why? Because I do. A lot. And I keep trying to picture what it looks like, and I can't see it without you and Emma in it. What are you saying? Lena turned to face him. I'm saying I want this to be permanent. Not tomorrow, not even next year, but eventually. I want to build a life with you, a real one. Noah felt his throat tighten. That's what I want too. Yeah? Yeah, I'm terrified of it, but I want it. Why terrified? Because I'm still waiting for something to go wrong, for you to realize I'm not worth the complications. Lena squeezed his hand. Noah, you're the least complicated thing in my life. Everything else is messy and uncertain, but this is the one thing I'm sure about. Noah kissed her, slow and deep, feeling something fundamental shift inside him. For years, he'd operated on the assumption that safety required solitude, that protecting Emma meant keeping everyone else at arm's length. But sitting here, watching his daughter play while the woman he loved planned their future, he understood that he'd been wrong. Safety wasn't isolation. It was connection. It was letting people in and trusting them to stay. Daddy, did you see? Emma called from the swings. I saw Bug. That was so high. Emma beamed and kicked off again, determined to go even higher. She's going to be a handful as a teenager, Lena observed. We're doomed. Completely. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Emma swing and laugh and live with the unself-conscious joy that only kids possessed. Noah thought about the past year, the fear and growth and stumbling attempts to be braver than he felt. He thought about the night Lena walked into his office, asking for help with a dating profile that became the catalyst for everything that followed. You know what's funny? Noah said. What? That dating profile you had me rewrite. You never even used it, did you? Lena smiled. I deleted the app 2 days after we met. figured I'd already found what I was looking for. What if I'd said no that night? What if I'd sent you away? Then I probably would have found someone else to help me, lived my life, and never known what I was missing. Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. But you didn't say no, and here we are. Here we are, Noah echoed. Emma ran over, breathless and flushed. Can we get ice cream? It's October. It's freezing. Ice cream is good in any weather. Lena, back me up. Lena laughed. She's right. Ice cream transcends seasons. Noah looked between them, his daughter and the woman he loved both grinning at him with identical expressions of mischief, and surrendered. Fine. Ice cream it is. They walked to the ice cream shop, Emma between them, holding both their hands and chattering about her day. Noah watched their reflections in store windows as they passed, a small family, imperfect and real, moving through the world together. At the ice cream shop, Emma got chocolate with sprinkles, Lena got something complicated with fruit, and Noah got vanilla because some things never changed. They sat at a small table by the window, Emma swinging her legs and telling them about a project she was doing at school. We have to write about our family, Emma said around a mouthful of ice cream. Can I write about all three of us? Noah glanced at Lena. She was looking at Emma with something tender in her expression. If that's who you consider your family, then yes, Noah said. Good, because you're both my family now. Emma stated it like a fact, simple and inarguable, then went back to her ice cream. Lena's eyes were bright. Noah reached under the table and squeezed her hand. Later that night, after Emma was in bed, Noah pulled out his notebook. He'd been working on something for weeks, not a story exactly, but a reflection on everything that had happened. On fear and hope and the courage it took to stay when every instinct screamed to run. He wrote about Emma's wisdom and Lena's patience and his own slow, painful journey toward becoming someone capable of accepting love. When he finished, he took a photo and sent it to Lena with a message. Final accountability check. I think I'm done with this one. She called instead of texting. You finished it? Yeah, it's probably terrible, but it's done. Can I read it, the whole thing? Noah hesitated. He'd been sharing pieces with her for months, but the idea of showing her everything, all the messy, vulnerable truths he'd spilled onto the page, felt enormous. Yeah, he said finally, you can read it. Will you let other people read it too? Maybe submit it somewhere? I don't know about that. Noah, you're a good writer. You should share it. It's too personal. That's what makes it good. People connect with personal. Noah thought about it, about the hours he'd spent writing, the way it had helped him process everything he'd been feeling. Maybe Lena was right. Maybe someone else needed to read it. Needed to know that being scared didn't mean you had to stay stuck. I'll think about it, he said. That's all I ask. They talked for another hour, about nothing and everything. When they finally hung up, Noah looked at the notebook in his hands. Months ago, it had been empty, just blank pages and possibility. Now it was full of words and truth and evidence that he'd changed, that he was still changing. He set it aside and checked on Emma one last time. She was asleep, her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest, her face peaceful. Noah stood in the doorway, watching her breathe, feeling the familiar weight of responsibility and love. But beneath it, for the first time in years, he felt something else. Hope. Real, genuine hope that tomorrow would be good. That the future wasn't something to fear, but something to build, one imperfect day at a time. Emma had asked him once, what if Lena made him happy? He'd been too scared to answer honestly then. But now, standing in the quiet apartment with his daughter asleep and the woman he loved just a phone call away, he knew the answer. She did make him happy. But more than that, she made him braver. She made him want to try, even when trying felt impossible. She made him believe that love wasn't about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone willing to stay through the imperfect parts. And maybe that was the whole point. Not perfection, but presence. Not certainty, but courage. Not avoiding pain, but choosing connection anyway. Noah closed Emma's door gently and went to his own room. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the year that had passed, about the stranger who'd walked into his office asking for help, and the way that small moment had unraveled everything he thought he knew about safety and risk and what it meant to really live. Life, he'd learned, wasn't about controlling outcomes or protecting yourself from every possible hurt. It was about showing up, being honest, and trusting that the people you loved would do the same. It was about letting Emma see him happy, even if happiness meant vulnerability. It was about believing Lena when she said she wasn't going anywhere, even when fear whispered that everyone eventually left. It was about choosing love again and again, even when, especially when, it felt uncertain. Noah picked up his phone one last time. He scrolled back through months of messages with Lena, reading their conversations, seeing the evolution from careful politeness to genuine intimacy. At the top was their most recent exchange, the photo of his finished writing and her enthusiastic response. He typed out a new message. "Thank you for everything. For seeing me when I was hiding, for staying when I pushed you away, for teaching me that scared doesn't have to mean stuck." Lena's response came quickly. "Thank you for taking the risk, for letting me in, for showing me that starting over doesn't mean starting alone." Noah set down the phone and closed his eyes. Tomorrow he'd take Emma to school and go to work and continue building the ordinary, extraordinary life he'd stumbled into. Tomorrow, Lena would open her studio and teach people that creativity didn't require perfection. Tomorrow, they'd all keep growing, keep trying, keep choosing each other. But tonight he just let himself feel it. The gratitude, the love, the terrifying, beautiful reality of not being alone anymore. And somewhere in the space between fear and hope, between the life he'd planned and the one he'd found, Noah Carter finally understood what it meant to be brave. Not fearless, he'd never be fearless. But brave enough to stay, brave enough to try, brave enough to believe that sometimes the best things in life were the ones you never saw coming. The dating profile that brought them together was long forgotten, deleted from an app Lena no longer used. But what remained was something neither of them could have written or planned or predicted. It was messy and imperfect and real. It was three people learning to be a family. It was love, not despite the uncertainty, but because of the courage it took to choose it anyway. And in the end, that was the only story that mattered. Not the one about finding the perfect person or following the perfect plan, but the one about being brave enough to stay when everything felt uncertain and choosing love again and again and again anyway.